Hey everyone, welcome back to another video of Hana Lexis. This is a channel to bump you up from being an intermediate English learner to an advanced super user like myself. And how are you going to do that? I guess by listening to the valuable advice of the one and only Hana, the alumna of the famed High School for the Gifted. Because, you know, I used to be in the English track and I'm now working and living in the US, so I kind of have the credentials, right? Today's video is going to be a little more special than usual just because I'm having liquor. Nah, this is tea. I'm very boring. The reason why it's going to be a little more special than usual is because I'm going to be speaking in English the entire video. Yay! And why did I decide to do that? Well, I guess just cause, you know, cause I'm teaching you guys English, so I guess I should really flaunt my English every once in a while, and just so that if there are any haters that decide to question my ability, I could just shove this in their face, right? Today's topic is something that I've been seeing a lot on my channel, and that is none other than vocabulary, cramming vocabulary. Yay! I've been getting a lot of questions on how to learn vocabulary more effectively, and I didn't really answer any of those questions. I was a little mean. But have you ever wondered why I haven't really shared about that yet? Was it because I want to withhold the secret so that I could be the only one with good vocabulary? Was that the reason why? I mean, maybe. I don't know. But in all seriousness, I feel like there wasn't a good time to talk about vocabulary just yet, because I've been thinking a lot. You know, every time I get those types of questions about vocabulary, I just thought to myself that what I know right now about learning vocabulary, is it good enough for sharing? I've already mentioned it before. It took me 20 years to learn English. Well, and at least 10 years to really get a good repertoire of fancy vocabulary. So to me, given the very long amount of time that I had to spend on learning vocabulary, it seems that I didn't really have a good method of learning vocabulary. So to be honest, I wasn't proud of the method that I had used to get to where I am today. Well, I mean, at the time it was necessary because there wasn't a better way to go about learning vocabulary. But in this day and age where technologies is like all the rage, all the hype is everywhere in every field, I feel like telling you guys to go cram vocabularies the traditional way is a little wrong. That's why I kept my mouth shut. I didn't really want to say nothing yet. So let me tell you a story. When I was in high school, you know, that High School for the Gifted, I had a pretty limited vocabulary, even though I was in the English track, I know. Because I already told you before, I didn't really get in because of my like fancy vocabulary and stuff. I got in because I was pretty meticulous in the grammatical sections of the exam. I was in top of the incoming class, so yeah, I was average, to say the least. I mean, at one point, I was even in the bottom 3 in my class. So you don't have to glorify me. I'm pretty average. I was really average in the literal sense of the word. I still remember in my senior year, my homeroom teacher wanted everyone in the class to participate in the citywide excellent student examination something. I don't really know. But yeah, so I had to join. I had to take the exam. I had 3rd prize. It's not like 3rd rank. It's like in the group that's called 3rd prize. It was not hard to get into that group. A lot of people that weren't in the English track were able to get in that group, like get that prize. So I was really average. I'm not trying to be coy about my achievements or something like that. I'm just telling the truth right now. It got to the point that one time I went to get more water at the fountain. I overheard some kids in 11th grade talking shit about me. They were saying something along the line of me being in the English class but not able to get into a higher group or higher prize. Yeah, they didn't really think highly of me, so it was a little hurtful to hear. So why am I telling you this story? I guess I'm just trying to persuade you that I was no different than you guys when I was in high school. I mean, I guess I had a little better vocabulary, but that was it. I didn't really have good fancy vocabulary until I decided to cram for SAT. But what I did was super traditional. I basically just picked up the book and stared at the words in the book like 24/7 and just hoped that they would get into my head. Eventually they did, but it was very painful. I had to come up with a lot of silly mnemonics to memorize the words, which I wouldn't want to share with anybody because they are too silly. If anybody knew, they would question my sanity, how I came up with such dumb logics or something like that. I mean, it's very similar to picking up a dictionary and try to learn from the dictionary. It was inefficient and painful. I didn't really remember a lot of words afterwards. So I spent the latter half of my senior year doing that without gaining a lot of results in the end. Then I graduated from high school and got into foreign trade university. But I didn't really join the university because I thought the program was boring. So I just took a gap year and then just stayed at home and tried to learn more vocabulary to retake the SAT. I still remember the first time I took the SAT, I scored maybe around like 500 or maybe 500. I don't know how the scale is right now, but at that time it was like 500 out of 800, so I was pretty bad. So during my gap year, I just decided to just stay home and learn more vocabulary to score better in the verbal section of the SAT exam. But at that time, I already realized that the traditional way didn't really work for me. I thought of trying other ways, like writing them down in a notebook or something. But I was too lazy to do that. So no, I didn't want to do that. But I got lucky because at the time I was dating this one guy from the IT class. He was a very good programmer, so he decided to code something up for me. And he coded a flashcard program that would allow me to import all of my vocabulary that I've gathered or collected from multiple sources. It's a flashcard program, so it would just show you a word and then you have to guess the meaning. But the way I collected the information for each word was that I would include the super detailed definition and then the context in which it was used, different grammatical notes about that word, and also examples to make sure that I understand how to use the word. I gathered that information on each word from the dictionary. So even that process, the gathering process, was very painful, but it had to be done. And I was the one that did it. So once I had the list, I just imported everything into the program that my ex-boyfriend wrote for me. And it just worked as your normal flashcard program. Something would show up on the screen and then you have to guess the meaning and tell the program that you remember the word or not, and then it would tell you the score and store the score in the memory so that next time it knows to show you more of the forgotten words. So that was the program that I used to learn vocabulary. Every day I would open up the program and then I would go through the flashcards until I got 100 memorized cards. That's where I stopped. It didn't mean that I would remember perfectly those 100 flashcards the next day, but by trying to memorize 100 flashcards a day, the words left some impression on me, and then the next time I see them, I would have the confidence that I had seen those words before and I wouldn't feel so intimidated by the words, and I guess I could become more comfortable in guessing the meanings in the context. So that's the point of cramming a lot of vocabulary instead of focusing on maybe 10 or 20 words a day. Even with 10 or 20 words a day, you would still forget them. So why not just cram like 100, 200 per day and forget them also, but you get to see more words and then you'll feel that they're more familiar. You wouldn't be so scared of them anymore. If you guys really want to go through that painful process that I had to go through in high school, I guess you could use something else. You don't have to use what my ex-boyfriend created for me. You could use something like NGЯY. It's a flashcard program. I think it's free for desktop and Android. I don't think it's free for iPhone. Or if you don't want to use Anki, I guess you could use other websites like like Quizlet or My Flashcard or something. Yeah, I mean, you could just Google them. They'll show up. But if I really have to suggest one program, I guess I would suggest that you should go for Anki, because it has a good algorithm behind the scene. It would remember your progress. It would remember the words that you forget, and then it could decide to force you to learn some words more often than others. Yeah, so you have it. Those are the programs that you've been asking for. And I'll just be frank with you. The hard part is not going to be finding a program to learn in or memorizing the words. The hard part is actually gathering the actual cards, like to build up your actual list to learn. I guess there are a lot of people that would ask me, why don't I just share the list that I've created so that everybody could use that to learn? Well, first of all, I don't want to. It was personal to me because I had a lot of personal notes in there, and if I shared it with the world, I would have to explain my thought process, and I don't want that. And more importantly, gathering information is actually part of the learning process. If you ditch that part, you ditch half of the learning process. It's not going to be as effective. I know that it's going to be painful in the beginning when you have to gather information for, say, 1,000 words or up to 4,000 words like I did in the past. But just think about it. If you are the author of your own list, you could decide which thing that benefits you that you want to include in your list. Because there are a lot of things in my list that are pretty advanced, and I don't think it's for everyone. So by customizing your own list, you already know the ins and outs of the list, of the flashcards, and that means that you already memorized like 50% of the cards. And later on, when you see them again on the flashcard program, you could go through those cards pretty quickly just because you already seen them before. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if you want to hop on the advanced user wagon, you have to do the work. You have to get your hands dirty. You can't expect other people to just hand you the food, right? But then again, I still have to stress that that method is very traditional and it's very painful to go through. So honestly, I don't think it's for everyone. My ultimate dream is to become a polyglot. That means I have a pretty burning passion for languages. That's why I was able to go through it without giving up in the middle. But if you are someone that's just in it for the short term, like you just want to learn English to look for a job or just to communicate in everyday life, I'm not sure if it's worth your while to go through that excruciating process. But if you want to do it, you can always do it. It just takes a lot of drive to get to the end, and there's a high chance that you'll give up in the middle just because you don't have the passion for languages. So I'm the type that doesn't want to force my opinions on other people. If you want to listen, then listen. If not, then just go. I don't want to argue. So telling you to cram vocabulary my way is a little hard for me because I feel like if you decide to do it, I have to take responsibility for you, which I really don't want to, because you're also an adult and I have my life to live as well. I don't want to be held responsible for somebody else's life. But I'm still a busybody, so I still want to find a way to help you learn vocabulary a little more intuitively and comfortably. That's why I've been trying to build my own website to share my knowledge with you guys, especially the things that would be hard for you to find the meanings on your own, to get the connotation, the subtlety in the meaning by yourself at your current level. I guess some of you already know. The website is called HanaLexis.com, and on that website I shared my knowledge in the form of flashcards. So my idea is to link the English phrases with their counterparts in Vietnamese, and the way I present the flashcards is also a little different. So I would present a Vietnamese phrase and then I'll try to tell you how the Americans say that idea in English naturally in everyday life, even in a fancy way if possible. I don't believe in forcing you guys to learn everything from English to Vietnamese because English is not your first language. It doesn't register in your head the way Vietnamese does. So it's better for you to think of the Vietnamese phrases that you want to use in certain contexts first, and then be able to link those Vietnamese phrases with the English phrases. Make the bridge between the two languages. And one special thing about the flashcards that I created for you guys is that they have the grammar to help you understand more deeply how to use those phrases. And I think that I did a pretty good job in making sure that the two phrases in two languages have very close, subtle meanings so that you don't face any social embarrassment because you're using some phrases the wrong way. Yeah, so basically that's what I'm trying to do these days. But I've been caught up in a lot of other things. That's why I haven't been able to publish the second version of the website. Honestly, that's my main goal. Having a YouTube channel is just to promote my website, because I honestly want to create a playground for other people to go in and learn very cool, very hip phrases that are actually used in everyday life. Well, I guess a lot of people could think that why don't they just go on the English websites and then try to learn the phrases instead of waiting for me to create the flashcards for them. I guess they could do that too, but the advantage of having me creating the flashcards is that I have good proficiency in both languages, and I do think that I have a knack for understanding these subtleties in languages. So I could tell you that, hey, if you want to say something like cổ suý in English, you could use something like perpetuate, because they bear very similar meanings and they are used in very similar contexts. Or if you want to say that you haven't prepared for an exam and you're just gonna go in and do the exam, so something like đánh lụi bài thi, then in English the same could be said by using something like wing it. I haven't studied for the exam, so I'm just gonna wing it. It basically has the same meaning. Yeah, so that's how I would like to share my knowledge with you guys, by creating that website and uploading more content, more flashcards onto the website that would contain like English and Vietnamese phrases in that way. I think that would be more intuitive, and it would allow people at the intermediate level to understand and absorb phrases from a higher, more advanced level as well, because I've already done the hard work of collecting the information and explaining it in a way that you guys could understand. So basically, to sum up, you have two ways of learning vocabulary. The first way is to cram vocabulary painfully, like I did 10 years ago. And the second way is to cut away from me to be done with the website, and I'll start uploading the flashcards again. I guess there's a third way as well, that is trying to combine the two ways. So first you would go online, or you would try to create your own list of flashcards and then import those into Anki and just try to cram them every day until you memorize them. In the meantime, I'll be done creating my flashcard website, and then I'll start uploading the flashcards again, and then you could, learn from me as well, because what I have to share is not something that you could easily find on the internet. Yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like this video, then hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.